Alright, that's enough about 2022 wrestling, Liam. How about we jump all the way back to July 2003?
My favorite month and year.
The most wonderful time of the year, July 2003. Weird month, because they kind of just rebooted the company.
Yeah, they did like a complete like shift. It was so weird. Like, this is different. This is a different company now. Old canon is like barely acknowledged or just straight up ignored. Teams are split up in favor of singles pushes now. It's very interesting.
Because, like, it's not a total reboot. Like, AJ's still your world champion. He's still the same character. AMW is still your tag champs.
Half of these shows you wouldn't be able to tell.
And, like, a bunch of stuff carries over. You know, you still have Raven and Shane Douglas feuding. That's still happening. So, like, it's not like they threw everything out the window and started again. Like, AJ and D'Lo is still the main program. A lot of stuff that happened before this has carried over. But there's just a sense between the people they're using, the people they're no longer using, and just the feel of the television show that we mentioned at the end of last month that there's like no swearing, back to traditional wrestling. And you see it. That's kind of what this month is.
Perhaps there was some sort of power shift that would indicate this change.
We'll get into that in a moment. But I do find it interesting that, like, even like I think the biggest sign of it is Vince Russo as a character, where he's not doing the work shoot anymore. He's not playing himself anymore. He's not playing Vince Russo the person. He is just playing Vince Russo as a character, which is distinctly different from how he's played himself on television over the last 7 months since he debuted in, what was it, end of October he debuted, so it's longer than 7 months, or is it end of November? I don't know months anymore. But he's been on television for a long time now, and he's been doing the work shoots. He's been playing himself, and he's not anymore. He's playing a character, which is this weird New York
He's a
snob.
goofball.
I don't like it.
He's a giant goof.
I don't like it at all. I don't think it works at all.
There's bits and pieces of it that I don't like. I will never like a Vince Russo type character being the smartest in the room, because I don't think it plays. But I don't mind him being like a goofball who gets beat up and like the babyface is overcome, you know. But I don't buy him as a guy who's overcoming anyone else.
Yeah, and he does that pretty much for the entirety of this month. It's mostly D'Lo. It's mostly D'Lo they're overcoming, but still.
This D'Lo AJ stuff, I'm not a gigantic fan of.
Because I think they've had better matches, both as a team and against each other, before this month. And now that we're into the full world title main event D'Lo AJ feud, there's just too much nonsense and shenanigans and interference and bullshit.
Well, interference, bullshit, and bad finishes could be like the summary of this month.
Oh god, there are shows that go by where I don't think there's a single clean finish on them. It's just like every match is a
There was one
run-in.
that was really noticeable, and it ruined like a bunch of matches that were like going pretty good.
Because like there was the night that had 3 AJ Styles and D'Lo Brown matches, and every single one of them had interference.
Yeah.
It's like the same Trinity and Sonny Siaki and Vince Russo trio just interfering in this match over and over again.
There was so many matches where it's like, oh, that was pretty good, but what a terrible finish. Or that was really good, but what a weird way to book that and the finish to it. And I was like, that was the story of it this whole time.
So yeah, it's a strange and interesting month. It's actually, frankly, it's not a great month. It's like there is very little in this month that we're going to like go off on. That's like, this is the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. It's like the Glenn Gilberty push or anything like that. I don't think there's anything like that this month. Like most of the wrestling is pretty good, or at least like passable. Except maybe, oh god, the Legend and Jarrett stuff I might go off on. Good god, that stuff is just mind-numbing. But other than that, I don't think there's a ton this month that's like horrible, but there's also not a particular amount that's like, whoa, that's really good. It just all hovers in a zone of existence, just sitting there existing.
These shows left me with the same feeling I feel when a Dynamite isn't great. Where I'm like, it wasn't bad, but wasn't much to get excited about either.
And it's interesting, this is the period of TNA that I have like the least reflexive memory of, because I'm pretty sure I've watched it all only once, and I've never watched like the stretch from pretty much July 2003 until they started on pay-per-view in October 2004 is the period in which like the things that are happening week to week on the show are the things that I'm like, oh, I forgot about that, or oh yeah, this is a thing that happens, as opposed to the stuff before this and after this. I have a very good working memory of, because as I said, I've only seen this stuff once. I've never gone back and revisited this stuff at any stage, not in any like consistent fashion, and a lot of it isn't great, so it doesn't make like compilation sets or anything like that. And there's like notable things coming up in the next few months, but other than that, it's just a lot of stuff like the Don Callis and Eric Watts as on-air authority figures era is an era my brain isn't all that familiar with, so it's gonna be fun.
You'll be in my shoes a little bit.